I don't know if this is yours or not.
Oh, it's hers. Thank you.
This motley crew over here.
Hey, Paris.
Hey, Paris, what's going on, man? How you doing? Hey, man, how you doing?
You can put that up that way. Oh, that's a beard.
Shake your hand, man. You know, some headphones.
Hey, man. How you doing? How are we doing?
Paris, pick up this.
How you doing?
They're not live right now, are they? So, is this audio, right?
Huh?
Just audio?
It's video too.
Huh?
It's video too.
Oh, okay.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey there. Good morning. Yes. Do you do scheduling? I guess that would be
Sure.
What's that?
She wanted to know about scheduling. Do you have any time for?
Sorry.
Do you have a phone number? What? Do you have a phone number on there? Yes.
Get her card. Yeah. We have. I'll let you know from here. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
A little.
Good to see you. How's Florida? All right. No, I've got my kids are college age. So I'm very much into the whole free speech on college campuses.
Oh, you won't have that problem.
No, and you have the problem where my kids are college.
You want to go get a gun in Florida, you literally walk in, you like pay the bill, and you walk out.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I'm all over that.
Pay your, your taxes are low. The only thing is like August and July are set.
Well, I'm in Maryland, and all my kids, as they graduate, are all going head south. Well, I go to the Lake Florida in North Carolina. It's real pretty there. Yeah. Not a big city.
What's your trade?
Yes.
I always confuse
I
you.
know.
I'm right behind for us.
Did you get the email about my admin password?
I sent it to you.
Okay.
No. Actually, your admin password?
Yeah, okay, so there were two things. The Gmail account to give me access through that, and then when I go to WordPress under admin, I tried to reset my password and say my link isn't moved. Can Mitch handle that? Mitch Bana, does he have admin access?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll message him.
I think he has admin access. I'll check in a second. They're trying to get. Okay. I text you. Okay.
Live stream.
What was it? Thursday?
CPAC rocks.
CPAC rocks.
keys?
Yes.
Hey, D. The tech guy said that our speed was at 1.5.
Yes. Right now, we're not even getting that. I'm begging to get these turned up. I'm still waiting for someone to call me back.
Okay.
Yes.
I missed you last year. I was going to say hello to you. I'm fine.
I'm okay.
Yeah, just got walking around. I was kind of a real big surprise.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I got a good shot. All of this is in. And you, everyone's in it.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing.
Where you at?
It's low.
It's low?
Yeah. Right. On the first one. On this, yeah. Testing, 1, 2. Oh, no, it's too hot. That's the volume for mine? I need the volume in the headphones. Oh, well, no. Testing. Man, it's low. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is the headphones. Okay. Testing 1, 2. This is Wayne Dupree.
Oh, wow. I gotta have a shot right there.
Hey, Brandon on RSBN says it's good on his side. Okay, well.
Just leave it where it's at.
Yeah. I ain't gonna mess with it. All right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting a little bit late. Hopefully the connection will be a whole lot better in just a few minutes. We have Maggie and Liz from RSBN and then we also have Hutch Bailey Jr. right now here. We wanted to broadcast on the radio side too. So right now we don't have that ability. So we'll try to see what we can do from that part. Hey Liz, you want to jump on that mic right there? Liz Willis from RSBN. We have Hutch Bailey Jr. from WAARadio. We're doing a joint session here at CPAC. I want to welcome everybody to CPAC 2017. We're doing it again, ladies and gentlemen. Last year we were here, and we were able to get some good interviews and stuff. This year we the interviews came a whole lot. I mean, well, the paper came a whole lot late, so we had to rush. But hopefully, we'll give you some of the best interviews we can get. Maybe we even get some surprises, and we'll bring that over to you. We got Hutch Bailey Jr. and Liz Willis. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to National Harbor, CPAC 2017. It's really filled up. It looks like Media Row has expanded exponentially since the last time I was here.
And Liz, this is your first time here.
Yes, it is my first time here. I'm so excited. I'm really surprised by the amount of millennials and students that look to be under the age of 25 that are here. I feel right at home. But no, it's been beautiful. People are very friendly, and there are a lot of media.
You know what? And I heard you say, last night when you came in, you were describing what you had saw as like, I thought that this was going to be one of those things where everybody was going to be old or that type of thing. But I saw the excitement in your eyes on video when you were like, I cannot believe all the young people here.
Yeah, I was shocked. And I think it says a lot about the administration who are here and the ones that are taking the time out of their busy schedules to speak to millennials. It shows the amount of respect it has for the future generations. So it surprised me in a great, fantastic way.
There we go.
There was a phenomenon here earlier with Rand Paul. Rand Paul used to, I don't want to say bring, but a lot of college Republicans used to show up, and you'd always see Rand Paul winning the straw poll all the time. So the place has historically had younger people in it. It seems bigger to me this year for some reason, and maybe that's just me, because it always is a big event. But the Gaylord has gone all out, setting everything up.
I think President Trump has gotten a lot more millennials engaged in politics. That was an issue a few years ago that we just weren't getting out and voting. But I think he did a great job. That's one of my favorite things that he's done so far, and I think it shows here at CPAC.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to say before we bring our first guest on, I want to give my condolences to the Combs family and the Crowley family. Alan Combs passed away this morning. And I know Sean Hannity probably will talk about it later on this show. Sean Hannity and Alan Combs had a great show on Fox News. Water and ice. Water and oil and water. But they were a great team on Fox, and we're sorry for the loss of Mr. Combs. And we pray that the family finds peace in this time. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, starting off our CPAC is Mr. Cabot Phillips from Campus Reform. Campus Reform, if you haven't been to their website or you haven't checked out their videos on social media, they go on campus and they expose so many, literally, let's see, I'm not going to say dumb liberals. So you won't expect me to ever say dumb liberals on the radio, okay? I'm not going to say dumb liberals for anybody, so nobody, dumb liberal kids. I'm not going to say anything about dumb liberal kids or anything like that.
Confused. We wouldn't want to hurt dumb liberal kids.
We wouldn't want to do that to you. But Mr. Cabot Phillips, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
So y'all are doing some good work over there at Campus Reform. I mean, your man on the street is doing some great exposing of the liberal mindset. How long have you been with Campus Reform?
I've been there about a year now, and people are always saying, hey, you guys are doing great work. And I say, my job's easy. All I got to do is go to campus and let them talk. It's all the liberal students that are, making themselves look, we don't want to say dumb, making themselves look confused. Uninformed. I got the easiest job in the world. I just put the microphone in their face and let them talk. But really, it is an endless flow of content that there is, because these campuses are just such strangleholds for the liberal ideology, and these professors that are just using their position to constantly indoctrinate students. And it's real. It's not something that's sensationalized. It really is real. Our college campuses are so just a stranglehold from liberal.
Now, Cabot, some people say that people on the left say that when you do these interviews that you leave out the smart kids, and I just want to give you the opportunity to set that straight.
Absolutely not. There is no deceptive editing of any kind. We do not do that. I'll give you an example. I went to the University of Maryland a couple months ago when all of the the bathroom stuff was happening, and I just told students, I had a petition. I said, hey, I want to try out for the women's basketball team. Wasn't dressed as a woman or anything. It was a guy. I said, I want to try out for the women's basketball team. We talked to 50 students, 49 of them signed my petition that I should be able to play on the women's basketball team.
Did you hire the 50th guy?
No,
MVP.
It was the last person I talked to as well. Last week I was at Georgetown University, had a petition to ban any professor that voted for Donald Trump. I thought maybe half the kids will sign it. Every single person I spoke to signed a petition to ban professors who voted for Donald Trump. So there's no deceptive editing because I don't need to. I couldn't edit anything else in because we're not getting any of their opinions.
So, what's the solution? What do we do going forward? We obviously have a large segment of our education program that has completely turned propagandist. Where do we go from here?
I think the solution is making sure students know that it's okay to be conservative. I think most of the students I talk to, they don't fully agree with liberal ideology. It's just they're afraid to voice their opinions any other way because they know that their professors and the vocal peers on their campus will condemn them for it. And so we need to make sure that we're, A, holding professors accountable, making sure they know, hey, you can't use your classroom to indoctrinate students. We're going to shed a light on it and make sure people know about it. And B, packaging conservatism in a way that is fresh for young people so they're not embarrassed to support it and they realize what we're actually about, not just what we're against, because that's all they're hit with. They know what we're about and they're proud to be conservative and they're okay to stand up for it.
How did you get involved in campus reform?
My junior year of college, I went to Liberty University, so thankfully I was immune from much of the crazy...
You probably know what year the War of 1812 was fought.
And I think you know Will Nardi.
Absolutely. Will Nardi, good friends, and Cassie
him.
Dillon, his partner as well on the show, so great stuff there. But I was in college and I would have all these friends that would tell me all these just horror stories of their professors, condemning them, of student groups, trying to start conservative groups and administrators denying them any kind of funds. And I thought, I feel guilty. I feel guilty not facing any of that, not doing anything to help my other friends. So I got involved with campus reform. They were the number one group fighting back against the bias on campuses. And so I thought, I like making videos. I like doing fun stuff like that. Let's see if we can transition that and I can start making fun videos to point out the hypocrisy on campus, but still make it an entertaining, fun product. And I think that's what we have at Campus Reform.
So what would you say is the ultimate goal of campus reform?
The ultimate goal is to just have a free flow of discussion on campuses. A college campus is supposed to be a marketplace of ideas where students can go in and they can hear both sides of a discussion and form their own opinion. And that's not what it is right now. It's just one side of an argument that they're hearing, and that's the liberal side. And so what we want to see, we don't want to indoctrinate students with conservatism. That's not what college is about. We want just students to be able to hear conservative ideas, hear liberal ideas, form their own opinions.
Make their own opinions.
And so we're doing that by keeping professors accountable, shining a light on the bias where it does exist, because there's plenty of it, and making sure that we're actually giving students an option to where they can really learn and form their opinions.
Have you noticed a trend in demographics where certain areas are more left or right than others? Do you have to spend more time focusing on certain campuses?
I think, definitely in D.C., the campuses here are especially liberal. When we go to Georgetown, American University, George Washington University, they're more liberal. I think it's because they're so close to the swamp, as we'll call it.
Yeah.
But as we go out, I don't, obviously there's definitely hope. It's not like, oh, well, it's a lost cause on college campuses. Again, I think there are more conservatives than we think, and you see that here at CPAC, but there are more conservative students out there that are just afraid to voice their opinion. And I think kind of the way we saw so many Trump supporters that didn't want to say they were voting for Trump, but they did. They just didn't say vocally. I think there are more college students like that on campus that are conservative. They just aren't comfortable saying it yet. So it's about getting them to that point where they're...
What do you think about, when kids finally get to the college level, some of the interviews that I see, maybe not all of them yours, but you see a lack of basic knowledge that they should be learning before they get to college. Now they're a senior in college, and they get asked who was in the Civil War, and they say Germany and France. Is there something that maybe even before we get to the college level that we have a problem with in this country?
I think, you're never going to have a perfect education system, so I certainly think just high school level, there's work that needs to be done, teaching students basic civics. I talked to my parents' generation, and everyone's saying, hey, when I was in school, we had to learn all about the way our government functioned, our history, and I don't think there's as much of an emphasis on that starting in the
I think it's on purpose
level.
Too, yeah.
And I think at colleges as well, though, we're not reinforcing history, we're not reinforcing civics. We've reported at Campus Reform multiple times where schools have canceled history courses and instead made social justice classes.
It's really just a prereq
diversity classes
to get over as fast as possible.
Exactly. And so we see a And when history is taught, it's often a revisionist history.
Right.
It's a history taught where all these liberal figureheads are glorified, and anyone who was
Christopher
Republican,
Columbus was a savage and everything else.
so everyone who was considered, an important part of history is just glossed over. We saw a school refuse to talk about Shakespeare because, he was a white male and there were enough white males being discussed on college campuses. And so it's just this revisionist form of history that's being taught when history at all is being discussed. And then you're right, it's something that needs to be addressed, and that's the problem.
A small part of me has always hoped that on those videos there's some camera shock or camera shy, so maybe that's what messes them up. Can I still hold on to that little...
No, people see the camera and they want to be on camera.
Okay.
People our age where everyone's just like, oh yeah, camera, let me get some, some press, let me go talk to you. So people want to be on camera. It's not like we're coaxing them into it. So they're excited to be on air. And obviously maybe there's some nerves, but we give them every opportunity to get their opinion out there and defend their opinion. And I'm not, pushing back a ton. I'm not threatening them. I'm just letting them talk. And so I don't think that's to do with nerves or anything. I really do think it is. They're just trying to conform. They don't want to offend anyone, so they don't want to put out any strong opinions. They just repeat the same talking points they hear from the professors and from the mainstream media.
I would love for y'all to go by Auburn University and interview some students. That's where I graduated from, and it seems to be very conservative. So I hope for the best for their answers.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case. Auburn maybe. Although I just assume that all schools in the South, were more traditional, maybe more right-leaning. We had plenty of stores at Clemson University. That was,
My
South
mom went
as
there.
you can expect. Yeah, and we had all sorts of just ridiculous liberal bias that was going on. Administration that was denying giving special privileges to liberal groups and denying them to conservative ones. So I don't know. I do think it's part of it is regional, but not everyone in the South is immune from this kind of thing.
Well, Andrew Breitbart said about Tulane, when you come out of that school, the default position is left, is liberal.
And I'd say that's 90% of campuses across the country.
I think it's a conspiracy.
It's something. I don't know what it is. It's something.
I so apologize. I'm trying to get everything working at the same time, but how can people reach out to you on social media?
So my personal Twitter is Cabot_Phillips, just CABOT_Phillips. And we're at campusreform.org and Campus Reform as well on Twitter. And we have a tip line. That's most of our stories. We don't go digging for stories because there's so much material out there. We have a tip line on our website, contact@campusreform.org, where students, when they see bias occur in their classroom or in their administration, they send it to us, and that's where most of our stories come from, is students telling us what's going on. So anyone listening, send us your stories. We want to shine a light on this crazy bias that's going on. We want to talk about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cabot Phillips of Campus Reform. Dude, thank you so much. Usually what we do with CPAC is we get y'all in for the quick little interview, and then we bring you back on for a regular show like type interview. So we'll be connecting with you for a later show. Okay?
Absolutely. Happy to be on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man.
Very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cabot Phillips of Campus Reform.
Interesting topic, ladies and gentlemen. It's something that you heard the contact line if you're affiliated with a college or a student or something like that, and you see some liberal leftist bias going on or something crazy, contact that hotline and get the crew down to your school to document it. It's really sad when you see this. Our youth, the knowledge that's just lost. Once you get to college, it's just about too late unless somebody realizes it and they reboot and go from there. But what'd you think about it?
I think it's great. I enjoyed watching those videos while I was in college, and part of me always told myself that it was a shock from the camera shy people. Then that's why they couldn't answer who's fighting the Civil War, who's the Vice President of the United States.
Those are some of the most stunning ones. I mean, with the visual acumen of the millennials or whatever you want to call younger people today, you'd think they would know who Ronald Reagan was or Joe Biden, and don't go any further back than that.
It goes a lot into education, and there's many more topics that are sensitive, but I think they're pushing so much on my generation right now that we are learning more. I'd say 10 times more than what my mom had to learn. But we're not actually learning it. We're skimming the topics. We're not really. It's not getting deep within us, and we just memorize it to pass the test. And then
copy and paste generation.
Exactly. The next week we memorize something else and we pass the test, and we're not retaining that information. So I think there's a lot to be said about the education system with that, and hopefully we'll see a change in what they are teaching.
And I mean, we're never going to put the genie back in the bottle. The electronics is out there. But we have to, I think, and I really like the idea of sending education responsibility back to the local estates because, economies are different in different locations, and basically what your education system does is prepare you to be involved in that economy. And so I think that people in Iowa know what they need their workforce to be prepared to do. And I think in Michigan it's a different, or Detroit it's a different thing, but the core learning, the Common Core math and things like that, and the going away from teaching with phonics when it comes to reading. Our illiteracy rate is embarrassing in our country.
We need teachers who care. I have a sister who's dyslexic, and she's worked really hard to get where she is. She wasn't able to do that with public school teachers. She had to go to private school. She had to have tutors on the side, and we spent a lot of money, but it would have been wonderful to have had a tutor at the public school who could have helped her. Instead, the public school told her she would not pass high school with a regular diploma, that hers would be a special needs diploma if she stayed in the public school system. Well, she graduated college with a 4.0. Yeah. So that shows what you can get if you're willing to work for it. But not everyone has those financial means to get the education they deserve, and I just think that there's this extent to Common Core where we do need to learn the basics, math, science, reading, writing, but each region does develop, they need their own specifics, and they need teachers that are willing to teach in different ways, because our brains don't work the same way. Everyone is different, and everyone needs a different way of learning. So,
well, for the hate mail, scrtv@live.com is my email address, because if it was up to me, there wouldn't be any public schools. Public schools at the federal level, or the government involved in education, period, to me is what caused all this. I'm not saying there wouldn't be any public funding. There would be public funding, but it would go to individuals, and individuals would then go to the marketplace, and pretty soon you would see schools formerly staffed by public school teachers. They would go into the private market, and they would compete for those dollars, and you would watch the results exponentially improve.
I could see that it would get very competitive, but at the same time, a lot of students would not, they don't have that. I had parents at home who would push me every day to be competitive and to be the best and stay in school. But a lot of kids would just say, oh, if I can't go to school for free, I'm just not going to go to school. So
they
then
would still go for free. As I said, the money would still be there. It just wouldn't go to a behemoth public school system. It would go to the parents and whatever school you want to send your kid to.
Okay.
And all of a sudden you would see whatever that amount of voucher would be, you would all of a sudden see that be the amount that is charged by all these schools.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now we are bringing Mr. Ted Greener from the Association of American Railroad. Chrissy, our executive assistant, put this young man on here for Hutch Bailey Jr. since they're in the Pennsylvania area. I'm happy that you are with us, Mr. Greener. Tell us a little bit about the Association of the American Railroad.
Sure. So thank you for having me on today. This is my first time at CPAC.
Come a little closer to the mic.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. The association that we work for, we represent private freight railroads. So in the Baltimore area, that's primarily CSX, Norfolk Southern, a lot in the east, and then out west, big entities like BNSF and Union Pacific.
Just about all of them.
Yeah, well, those are certainly four of them. We also have some transcontinental, bigger entities running across the Canadian-Mexican borders as well. But with all of the talk in Washington about deregulation and regulatory reform, we thought it would be a good idea to get here and kind of talk about what I view to be the greatest story never told, which is that of our industry and really how we are able to exist today really at the hands of deregulation. So,
well, I know in my area, in the Pittsburgh area, it was basically built by the railroads, and we built the railroads. Pretty much, it's an inland port hub with basically Norfolk Southern and some other older railroads. But how do you see the future? Because a lot of the infrastructure is old.
Yep.
I mean, it's been there. I remember being young, just watching the coal barges running up and down the river, and the coal cars and the steel freight going through. A lot of that traffic's gone now. Most of the infrastructure is still there, but do you think it's in need of upgrade, let's say?
Sure. So another primary motivation to be here would be to advance an issue that I would guess not a lot of people necessarily realize, which is that our network is 100% private. So we hear a lot of discussions around a $1 trillion infrastructure package, a lot of that which would go towards publicly funded roads and bridges. Our network, to answer your question, is in very good shape. It's 140,000 miles around the country, and we spent
running through metropolitan areas and
a mix of metropolitan and rural areas. Sure, really covering the vast swath of the U.S. and we spend about $25 billion annually on our own network. We're projected to spend about 22 this year.
Yeah.
And since DREG in 1980, it's been $630 billion of our own money. So I like to say we pay so that
that's good to know.
Taxpayers don't. And to your
we should advertise that a little bit more. I don't think that's very well known.
I know. Yeah. So that's this is a great audience, great group of people to try and bring that message to. If President Trump is going to work with Congress to move forward some type of infrastructure package, we like to think that that couldn't really occur or coexist unless U.S. private infrastructure such as ours continues to do what it does. Because we spend and taxpayers don't spend, that deterioration of our public roads and bridges is lessened, and therefore the funding needs for those are lessened. If he's going to do that, we'd like to be a part of that. But the reality is, as it stands now, you and me are footing the bill for a lot of our roads and bridges because the Highway Trust Fund is just simply unsustainable. About $150 billion has been transferred from the general fund to the Highway Trust Fund since 2013. So,
Chrissy wanted to ask about Conrail and what Conrail's place is in this whole deregulation and going forward from here. I'm not that familiar with Conrail.
Yeah.
She's from Altoona, where a horseshoe loop is. I'm sure
I'm
are
familiar
aware of that.
Yeah, so we went back and forth. Chrissy was most interested in when can I get on a passenger rail line and move? To which my answer was, well, you can. Amtrak is a quasi-government entity, kind of a government-sponsored entity, such as the
a huge dark hole where money is just poured. Have you thought about going into the passenger business?
So Amtrak's a member of our association. We don't necessarily represent their interests on Capitol Hill, but President Trump has also made a lot of comments about high-speed rail in areas such as Europe and Asia. Maybe the missing factor in that discussion is those governments highly subsidize those operations. The reality is that moving people by rail is just simply not a profitable endeavor. And so,
as is the case with Amtrak, right?
Outside of the Northeast Corridor, Amtrak, covers a lot of their expenses, yes, through some government appropriated dollars. But Amtrak is really they're now under the leadership of Norfolk Southern's former CEO.
Okay,
they're doing a lot of they're very much they have a business approach to this, and we firmly believe if there are going to be massive amounts of dollars on an infrastructure package, and if we'd like to see, better passenger rail service in this country, then dollars should go there too, because, that's less people, less trucks on the road.
Just one more question,
sure,
and I'll turn it over, but
sure.
Have you done any collaboration with other industries? In other words, you saw the Trump administration complaining or actually mandating that the pipes coming from the pipeline, the steel, be made in the United States. And I know that infrastructure is still there between former mills like the Pittsburgh area or whatever. And I know that the railroad was always coupled very closely with those industries. Is there still talk about that and maybe expanding it going forward? Because that's what a guy like me wants to hear.
Yeah, that's a good question. We like to say we're an industry that moves industries. There are very few goods in their lifespan of whether raw or finished that we don't move. And certainly, yes, we work really closely with our customers, which are a mix of agriculture, community, energy suppliers, retailers, even, moving stuff. 30% of all goods exported from the U.S., including those, manufactured here, are moved via rail, and a similar sizable figure are moved from ports to market here in the U.S. And so I think to answer your question, yes, we've seen a pretty sizable decline in coal production, at a mix of market forces. Certainly, it's hard to deny that natural gas has had a big part of that, but clearly, coal era regulatory forces have had a hand in that as well. We're optimistic that the coal picture can at least be stabilized, and we will continue to move the vast majority of coal. It's just there's no other mechanism to move bulk commodities as long and as quickly as freight railroads do.
Ted, how can people reach out to you on social media?
Mm-hmm. If you go to AAR.org, you can find links to all of our Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Say that again?
Sure, it's AAR.org.
Okay. And I'm sure, Hutch has a radio show, Cold War Radio, or Steel City Resistance. He'll be able to bring you on for even longer interview. Usually what we do at CPAC, we get you in here for about 10 minutes and get a big old, get a big old gist of what you're about, and then we'll bring you on a little bit later for a longer interview. So.
No, I appreciate the time. Like I said, my goal was just simply to introduce an industry that maybe doesn't have a face because it's not consumer facing to an audience, and understand that we exist today because the government got out of our way.
All right, there we go.
Chrissy says thanks so much.
Thank you to Chrissy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ted Greener of the Association of American Railroad. And we are still at CPAC, CPAC 2017.
We're still here.
Yeah.
Beautiful National Harbor.
It's absolutely beautiful today. I saw it when I walked outside, and our hotel room looks over the harbor, and when you get off the elevator, you get to see it. The sun is shining, and it's a really great area. If you haven't been here, I'd recommend coming for a weekend or so.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about it is that a couple years ago, thank you, Ted. A couple years ago, we woke up and it was like, say that this was a couple years ago today. You look outside, it's sunny and everything's great, beautiful. Then we woke up on Friday, it was snow everywhere. Snow everywhere. We were like, wait a minute. We're all going to be stuck here at CPAC,
I'm enjoying this global warming myself.
That's what I was about to say. It's like global warming. Yeah, me too.
We
I need
have
some more sunlight. I need a tan.
we got Joel Pollack from Breitbart coming up in just a few minutes.
Breitbart has a very big footprint here this year. They have an impressive booth. I'm not sure if they're doing video or not, but it's a lot of the booths have really come of age lately. I mean,
have you seen that Facebook Live?
I have. That's something, and the NRA booth is impressive.
I'm very impressed with all
this used to all be just radio. Now everybody's bringing a TV studio here.
It's that new age media.
I guess.
Video is quicker.
Right, 2 tables down from us from Fox News.
Video is quicker, man. I mean, you were saying something about how millennials have not short attention spans, but their attention span is like, catch me.
I think it's 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
I'd have to check my facts. So I don't report fake news, but I think it's roughly 8 minutes that we can focus on one thing. For me, it might be shorter.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Wayne Dupree Show here at CPAC, broadcasting. There's Joe Pollack right there, broadcasting with Hutch Bailey Jr. and Liz Willis. Right there, Joel. Joe Pollack is with Breitbart, and there's been a couple things going on with Breitbart.
Just a couple.
Milo. What's up, Mr. J?
How you doing?
All right. Sit right down there and take a little seat. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen him on CNN. I mean, literally taking CNN apart. And as a matter of fact, I was reading, I think it was NPR or somebody like that was like, we're not going to bring on any more conservatives after an interview with Joel, too. I think that's right. Is that right, Joe?
There was a discussion by the NPR public editor about having people with offensive views like mine. I don't know what my offensive views are, but evidently, and they were going to review that decision, and it didn't apply to all conservatives in the end. But there was, I triggered someone in the audience, and they had sort of trigger warnings ahead of some kind of report they did on it. I mean, NPR basically couldn't handle it, and it being just having an open discussion with conservatives about conservative views. They were trying to paint Steve Bannon and Breitbart as, crazy extreme or whatever, and so the very fact that I would come on the air to defend against those claims meant that they had to have some kind of a warning to their sensitive listeners that they might hear something they disagreed with.
You know what's crazy is that Breitbart has been hit with that racist attack for the last few months. I mean, liberals are running away with it like wildfire with no proof. I mean, manufactured fake facts, It's like, I understand maybe if you don't like Steve Bannon. I understand maybe if you don't like conservative news. But when you start throwing that racist label, especially when they don't know what Breitbart's about, they don't know what the staff looks like. It's crazy.
Yeah, the funny thing now is with anti-Semitism. There's a whole this week the story is oh my goodness, Trump said something about anti-Semitism, as if he wouldn't, or as if he had something to prove. But that the question itself presumes the accusation, which is just false. I mean, and Trump, I think rightfully and understandably, got annoyed at being asked about it so many times, as if he had something to do with some of the anti-Semitism that's, by the way, been around since well before Trump announced he was running for president. I mean, there's been a problem over the last few years, and it's good that he spoke out against it. Obama didn't do much about it.
Right.
Obama, except make Bibi come in the back door.
Right. Bibi, Bibi comes in the back door. And, he railed against the lobby opposing the Iran deal, whatever that meant. And, I think that most Americans are tolerant people. I don't feel like this is an anti-Semitic country. There's a very small minority of people who do some of these crazy things. And they do it when they get attention, and they do it to make a point, and sometimes it's false and whatever. There have been some hate crimes lately in the last few months that have been staged. I mean, there was a Muslim woman, I think in Lafayette, Louisiana, who claimed that she was attacked. Somebody pulled off her headscarf or something like that, and it turned out not to have happened. And you get these things coming up. I think the default assumption has to be that most Americans are decent, no matter what party they support. And then you find these extraordinary cases of hate crimes that do happen, and we have to deal with that accordingly. But the default assumption in the media seems to be that not only has Donald Trump got something to prove, but the 60 million plus people who voted for him are, by definition, racist or willing to tolerate racism and anti-Semitism. I mean, when you make claims like this, you're not just talking about a politician; you're talking about your fellow Americans, and I think it's just silly, and we should stop doing that.
Well, what can we do as someone who voted for Donald Trump to say that we're not racist? I mean, besides treating people kindly, it's just such an easy slur to throw at someone, and it completely defames them. I mean, it's one of the worst things you can be, and it's so easily thrown around today.
So there's three things to do, right? So you can argue against it. There are times when that's appropriate. We say, not only am I not racist, but this is what I've done in the past on these issues, and this is what I care about, and you can sort of try to use facts to disprove that claim. There's two other things to do. One is just not to answer at all. So sometimes people say to me, why do you even bother debating these people about whether or not you're a racist? Because, if you even consider that a question, at least some of the people, after listening to a debate about it, are going to disagree with you. Why would you even give that question any attention at all? So maybe sometimes you don't take it so seriously. But I think my favorite response came from, this is actually many years ago, it was a black AIDS activist who was accused of racism for opposing sort of whatever the prevailing consensus was about AIDS. And this is actually when I was in South Africa. So he was an AIDS activist opposing the government. South African government was denying that AIDS was a problem, and so this activist was accused of racism. He being from I think initially Muslim origin, but being a black person himself, he said, well, you know what? Suppose I'm racist. How does my racism excuse your incompetence? You want to make it about my racism? Okay, let's. Fine. For argument's sake, how does my racism excuse what you're doing to the country and what you don't understand and are trying to, whatever. I mean, So that's the kind of jiu-jitsu move where you sort of roll with the accusation and then put it back on them. It's just a toxic part of our debate. I think the approach that you hinted at, where just being a good person, being an open-minded and tolerant person, it's harder to believe the worst things about somebody if they seem a reasonable, approachable person. So if you just engage people in a normal way, I think most reasonable people, even if you haven't given them, points A, B, and C to disprove the charge, will begin to rethink it and say, well, someone so nice and someone so open and confident can't possibly be this hateful, resentful person that the name or label racism implies. So.
Hey, Joel, thanks for coming on the show to RSBN and WAARadio. I want to shift to politics, to policy a little bit. The big thing that a lot of people are worried about, especially ardent Trump supporters, is that everything is going to get bogged down in the House and Senate. Now, you have two major initiatives. You have tax reform and you have Obamacare repeal. Mm-hmm. Now, you even wrote today or yesterday about the only way to lose the House is to stall Obamacare repeal.
That's right.
What do you think that we have lined up against us to get these policies that people voted for Donald Trump to enact through this Congress?
I think that one of the explanations was provided by Sean Spicer yesterday. He said that they want to take the time to get the Obamacare repeal right because Obama rushed it through so quickly that they got a lot of the details wrong,
right,
and that ended up with a bad policy. I think that most Trump voters and most Republican voters, Tea Party people and whatever, are patient enough to listen to that for another couple of months. And then they're going to really want to know, look, you guys had 6 years, you repealed Obamacare,
many times, right?
And why can't you do it now that you have a president who'll sign that in?
Right.
I mean, my personal favorite, although I think it has some political drawbacks, but my personal favorite is just a one-page bill that says Obamacare is hereby repealed, effective, sometime next year. So they give themselves like a year or more to work out the details, but come, July 1st, 2018 or whatever it is, Obamacare is done. So at least they can say we've repealed it. The problem with that, when you think about the political strategy, is that Democrats would then try to stall, and make sure that that deadline came and went, so that there would be Obamacare collapsing and nothing left. And so that's the problem when you give them something concrete to oppose. But who knows? It might work, and that's a last resort, I guess, if they can't work out the details. I do have confidence in Tom Price, former Representative Tom Price, who just became the Health and Human Services. He was the mastermind behind the Republican, or one of the Republican plans to repeal Obamacare. So I think that now that he's finally in place, he's been confirmed, he's taking office, I think, about a week ago. Now I think you'll start to see some movement on it and starting the preparations for repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Joe Pollack of Breitbart.com, one of the top sources of news with I would say probably the world, but I'm being kind of like conservative on that. But where is Breitbart going right now, Joe? Because we would definitely love to get the Wayne Dupree Show on the Breitbart podcast. I don't even know why I just said that. I really don't. I mean, I've been trying to reach out to, but okay. Where does Breitbart go?
Well, thanks for the sales pitch. Fortunately or unfortunately, I have nothing to do with the sales side of Breitbart, or the business side. But those guys are over there at the booth. If you find one of those guys, they're good at talk. If you can pry yourself away from WAARadio, we're expanding. We're expanding in Europe. We're going to be a part of covering those elections coming up in Europe, in France, in the Netherlands, other places. And the sky's the limit. I mean, I think we've been very successful also in the radio medium, Sirius XM, channel 125 from 6 to 9 Eastern every day. We've got that very successful show. We've got Kurt Schilling's show, which I just did over there. So I think Breitbart's going to expand beyond just the internet and getting out into passive media like radio, which are still fantastic. I mean, I'm a radio guy originally. My first journalism job was on radio. So, I think that's where it's going, but definitely wherever the fight is, that's where we'll be. And sometimes we're there before the fight gets there. I know that, thank God there's been no wars in the Middle East since we set up Breitbart Jerusalem. But, the idea was we'd be there when the next one happened. Thankfully, there hasn't been one.
Give it time.
But right, but that's where we are. So
there you go. Liz?
Yeah, I can't not ask. With Milo's resignation this week, what can y'all say? I saw that Breitbart was pretty quiet for the most part. They finally did release an article when he resigned, but prior to that, they had been quiet. So was that just why were y'all so quiet?
Well, I think when any company is faced with a public relations situation, you have to have discipline in your communications, and you have to give time for the leadership of the company to work things out. It's the nature of politics that you often don't have time, and you have to make decisions on the fly. And there's all kinds of pressures that you get hit with. But I think that we've been around now, at least in this format, since 2009, so that's a good 8 years. And we've been through public relations issues before, political controversies, you name it, we've done it, we've been there. And I think what we've learned is that when cooler heads prevail, you make better decisions. You never make good decisions when you haven't slept yet, when it's late at night, or you haven't had breakfast. Your mom always told you eat a breakfast before you go to school. It's true. You have to deal with these things as soberly as you can without delaying so much that people start to invent stories. But I think in the end, the solution, which was really led by Milo, was elegant, graceful, and I wish him well. I think he handled himself very well in his press conference.
And he gave a lot of positive feedback back to Breitbart.
Yeah,
it seemed like there was no hate there.
Not at all. I think I think the side of him actually that came out at the press conference was a side that those of us who worked with him really know, which is he's a very nice person. I mean, he's a provocative person. He says crazy things. You don't have to agree with the things he says. I don't agree with some of the things he says, but he's actually a nice person.
You really got to see his sensitive side, that he does care.
Yeah, and look, he's also a showman. I mean, I think he changed his hair color for the press conference. I'm not. He toned it down a bit. I'm not sure if that was. But you never know with Milo what you're going to get.
Must have a good PR team too, then.
Yeah. Look, I mean,
red, white, and blue suit.
I think Alex Marlowe, our editor in chief, said it best that these were views that just couldn't be defended, but the way Milo handled it, I think, resignation and moving on. And look, I think everyone's going to be interested in whatever he does next. I think that he showed, an appropriate degree of contrition, and he's learning also. I think he's learning, not that there are necessarily limits on free speech, but what is free speech about? In a political medium, those issues aren't really issues that are debated. You might find those issues debated in other kinds of media, but certainly in the political medium, nobody is interested in discussing those issues. Not because people are squeamish or politically correct, but just because that's not where the country is politically, or will probably ever be. That's not to say we don't talk about issues of sexuality, and I mean, we're busy debating today this transgender bathroom. By the way, it's not just transgender bathrooms; it's transgender locker rooms.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm from California. I'm a person who thinks that you should let people do whatever they want. The issue is with bathrooms and locker rooms. Having someone who's anatomically male undressing or dressing in a women's locker room at a high school might be problematic. I can see that people would be uncomfortable with that.
Listen, I have two 13-year-old daughters, and I really don't want Johnny and Bobby to decide that one day they're going to wear a skirt and walk in. That's how we feel, and then when they get in there, then change back to
Right. I mean, I don't know if it's like that for most transgender people. I mean, I had a friend in college who was the first transgender person, I think, who was ever at Harvard, at least openly transgender. And, once you knew this person was male or said they were male, you didn't really think about, whether they were anatomically male. And I mean, I didn't, you weren't going to have that kind of relationship with them if you were heterosexual. So it didn't matter. You just hung out with them, and if this was an interesting person I used to hang out with and talk to about other stuff, and you just forget about all that.
I feel like
that's an age at college, though, I think, where people are their own, they're adults. It's different than in a school environment where kids are experimenting with all kinds of stuff.
I don't know statistics, but I want to say that I feel like more people are just saying they are identifying with a different gender just for the sake of doing so, and to see if they can get away with going in a different bathroom, and it's not actually because they feel that as their calling. Do you think it's that?
I think there's some of that. I mean, I definitely know people. In fact, I've been friends with people who were totally male in every way and now are transgender. I've known people who were gay and are now happily married in traditional marriages. You don't bring that up with them because it's none of your business, really. But I think some of these things are fluid. I think particularly with transgender issues, there are a lot of psychologists who say that there's kind of gender dysphoria, that there are some issues that people do need to work out. There are also some people who are biologically challenged in this way because they have, I hate to use the word biologically challenged, but there are people with chromosomal abnormalities where they don't have a double X or an XY, they have two X chromosomes and a Y chromosome or whatever. And there are medical conditions that sometimes require treatment. All of these things go into the mix, but the notion that you can invent your own gender, I think, is something a lot of people have trouble with.
I was going to bring that opinion, the old guy opinion, and that's just that. Whatever you want to do when you're in college, when you're over 18, you go for it. But let's just stick to what we have up till 18. If you have a little problem with it, then have a little problem with it. But we're not going to have transgenders under 18. To me, that's child abuse.
I just don't know how you do it in a high school environment. And it's not just the worry that your kids might be exposed to somebody, with different anatomy in a private setting. There are some really wide age gaps in high school. I mean, the freshmen are 14, 13 maybe. Right. The seniors are 17, 18 maybe. That's a huge difference. And, when I was a freshman, I'm in the same locker room as the seniors playing football, and bumping into guys who are 300 pounds and I'm, all of 110 or whatever it was. But I mean, this is a very wide gap. You're talking about people at very different physical and emotional developmental stages. And to have kids as young as 13 come into a situation and not know what to do can be traumatic for the child. I mean, it's not just about, you might see something you don't like. No, it's worse than that. And I think that there's not enough care being paid to just getting kids the education they need instead of trying to mess around with identity politics when
let's not make it worse. It's already hard enough.
It's already hard enough. Just let the kids let them be boys and girls, and when they grow up, they can be whatever they want. I agree with that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Joel Pollack here from Breitbart, and I'm glad that we've finally been able to track him down and get him on here on the Wayne Dupree Show. And you know what, Hutch, we would really be able to get him on a whole lot if we were on the Breitbart podcast.
That would be a nice venue.
I'm just saying. I'm
just
throwing it
else. We might as well be.
Yeah, I mean, Breitbart is the last. Let's see, what's that Star Trek thing?
The last frontier.
The last frontier. Yeah, it's the last frontier.
You guys are doing great work.
We're already everywhere, so we just.
The thing about broadcasts like yours, in all seriousness, when I wrote my book about the campaign, how Trump won, people often ask me, especially liberals who don't have any friends who voted for Trump, how did he win? I mean, how did this happen, this unbelievably strange event? And
to them,
right. If they had listened to shows like this, if they listened to the Breitbart broadcast, they would know that these views are out there. And not only that, but the callers you get, the feedback you get, you're getting it from people who are really engaged in the issues and who think in a conservative direction. That's not something that you're going to get listening to NPR, to take us back to where we started. So, I mean, if I can plug the book, people should go buy How Trump Won. I'm doing a signing today at CPAC. But I think, people have enjoyed it. It's a window, I think, onto that world of where people are from the conservative side of the country and how people came around to supporting Donald Trump as president.
And like you said, there was even our group was double and triple the size that it is now back before the Donald Trump debate within the Republican side, within the conservative movement. And really, a lot of people didn't get it, even on the right. A lot of people had no idea that this guy was galvanizing to a plurality of people. I mean, he was going over I can tell you, being from a liberal city, a lot of liberal Democrats voted for Donald Trump because they were union members. Or they were Boilermakers or whatever. And they knew that the key to their existence was an economy coming back because it's been so bad for so long.
Right.
I wouldn't say bad, even though it has been, but it's been transforming to a service economy.
Right. Right. That's definitely true. I mean, he certainly in Michigan gave shouts out to all the union members. He did that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what was interesting in talking to people, I talk about this in the book a little bit, but as I spoke to voters, they had a sense that he was doing something for them by running.
Right.
You know, mostly when you go to political rallies, you see the politician up there, they're doing it for themselves. You know, you're kind of hoping they'll still remember you when they get there. Donald Trump had a unique connection with his audience because they had the sense that he had given up a career in business, given up a career in Hollywood, given up money and risked his personal reputation to do this. They felt he was doing it for them. And because they could see that sacrifice, that endeared him to them. And so I think that helped build a bond. It's not just Twitter and it's not just going around the media. There was a real connection there, particularly in those union cities where they were just used to cookie-cutter politicians, and he definitely was not.
And I mean, the laborer, the guy comes to a rally, and people see him wearing a bulletproof vest, and he's 70 years old. And like you say, he gave up a life of luxury. That guy worked harder than any politician I ever saw during those run-ups.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Wayne Dupree Show. Joe, how can people reach out to you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at Joel Pollack. That's the easiest way. JoelPollak. And follow along at Breitbart. My articles are up there, but Twitter's the best way. And I've got other stuff around, Facebook, this and that, but I'm probably most active on Twitter in a political world. Facebook I usually just use for baby pictures, because otherwise you lose half your friends and family, especially when you grew up in liberal Chicago like I did.
Well, look, we thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can have you back on a regular show throughout the week, so maybe you can answer some questions and stuff.
Sounds good.
From the audience and stuff.
Yeah, right to me, and we'll do that.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Pollack from Breitbart.
Very nice to meet you.
CPAC 2017. We are changing a couple things over. So we are going to start broadcasting segments of the
What is the Wi-Fi? Sorry.
So we're going to go into some segments, ladies and gentlemen, and what that's going to mean is Wayne's going to explain that in a second. But had some good interviews so far in segment one. Some Mr. Greener from AAR.org. Joel Pollack, that was a big one. I mean, he's a pretty serious guy over there, a regular writer at Breitbart.com. And he talked about the Sirius radio program on 125 Patriot. That was actually where Stephen K. Bannon came from before he assumed the position on the Trump campaign. And since Alex Marlow has taken over that endeavor. So the segments. All right, ladies and
gentlemen. Dan. We aren't live, right? Okay.
Or we're not.
I cannot get Wi-Fi. I'm trying to pull up the Google Docs so that I can have the updated list scheduled of who's speaking. Is that updated?
CPAC rocks.
Still live.
Let me see. Yeah, I know. He just told me. You in? The login and password don't work for Wi-Fi now.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
No. But then, wait, did you choose? Turned off. Did you choose CPAC Media?
No.
It's the Wi-Fi is CPAC Media.
This is all lowercase. D and P is up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Hello, beautiful. Fresh off her gig at CNN.
Fresh? CNN? Put the two together, really?
You look so good.
Oh my god. Can we do a bus tour?
Yeah.
We need a bus tour.
Please?
Can we please get a bus tour? I need to be with the people. I actually called Katrina the other day and I'm like, can I just be in charge of doing these rallies again? Because I need to go be with the people. This past year, how are you doing? This past year of not being around.
7+ camera.
That's right.
We need big.
It's my baby.
You're beautiful.
Oh, I've been up since 2 a.m.
Oh no.
But that's the thing is I feel like I've been completely out of it, not talking to people and being with people. And so somebody just came to me and was like, you know why they're not giving you the radio position yet? I'm like, why? Because supposedly they didn't like what you said on television. And this was before election night. Someone didn't like what you said on television. I said, well, it's funny because when Trump called me in December, he never mentioned that. He loved what I did. So who's holding this up?
Who,
Are you going to be around tonight?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I'm only here for 24 hours. I'm only here till tomorrow.
Why?
I was coming originally, and then they brought me in to do Sheriff Clark's live, straight to do his Q&A session. Yeah, so I'm doing. So I came in today so I could play tonight with you guys. So I've got to go do Russian TV, but then after that,
Oh, so you are going to be here tomorrow?
till 3 o'clock tomorrow. Yes, but tonight if you're around,
Okay.
let's
All
all
right.
get together.
I text you. Okay.
Are you doing an interview?
Yeah, 11:30 with me.
What's your name?
Justin.
I'm with Wayne too.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to get up a.
There's our sheet. That's all. That's
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna get a live stream going on my phone at the same time.
Okay.
Just ignore